everyone's been interrupted. It's like everybody's plans have been interrupted. It's just to what level. So talk to us about some of the interruptions. I mean, here you are leading a church, multi-campuses. Maybe some pastors are watching or some business owners. You've had to make adjustments. What have you had to do as a leader of a large organization? What have you done, and what exciting praises have you seen through these challenges?
Yeah, I think for us, the first thing we said right out of the gate is that, there was no emergency meeting of the Trinity. Like, God wasn't sitting up in heaven going, I didn't know this virus was coming. I had no idea. Jesus, what are we going to do? I don't.
That's right.
That didn't happen. That God was not surprised. He was not shocked. He knew what was coming. So we kind of refer to this as a divine disruption. That's what it is. It's a divine disruption.
Oh, I like that. Divine disruption.
All our lives. So, as we kind of think our way through it, we just try to say, okay, what we don't want to do is we don't want to waste it. We don't want to waste this crisis. I said to our church really from day one, look, if we're going to find ourselves in this spot, what we're going to do is we're going to serve our way through this crisis. We're going to look for opportunities, and God doesn't want to waste it. We don't want to waste it. We've got time. Let's spend more time in God's word. Let's spend more time in prayer. And, let's don't live in panic. Let's don't live in fear. Now is not the time to backpedal as the church, right? These are those gates of hell shall not prevail against us moments where really it's our opportunity to be the church, to go get it. Let's don't shrink back. Let's step forward. Let's march. Let's go. And man, I've been super proud of our church.
Give us some examples, because a church represents people from cradle to grave. It represents all different income levels. What have you seen? What have been? Give us some quick stories about that.
Yeah, that in some ways, the hardest part about this crisis is that we take for granted the fact that we get to be together. I'll tell you the first thing that hit my spirit whenever this happened, and we realized that we may not be able to meet on Sundays. The first thing that hit my spirit was that our brothers and sisters around the world do this every week.
Wow.
We have brothers and sisters around the world who take their lives into their own hands and risk literally life and limb to get together on Sundays to meet. That's how important the fellowship of the body is. And so for us in the West, Kary, I mean, this is just a little taste. And I mean a little taste for most of us. This is just a little taste of what our brothers and sisters around the world deal with on a week in, week out basis. So we're very blessed at our church. We have an A1 leader. Her name is Christy Lowe. She is the best of the best when it comes to making sure our church is connected to the community. She's our missions director. And so from day one, I mean, she was just on it. And she said she called 6 school districts that are connected to our 4 campuses, talked to the superintendents of all 6 of those school districts and said, we're here, we want to help. And at that time, they were formulating their plans. And, for me, as the pastor, what was hard in that scenario is just being patient. Just, you got to wait. You got to wait. They got to formulate their plan, and then you got to want to help and support their plan instead of just running out there on rogue and doing your own thing. And Christy's great. I mean, Christy just said, we just got to be patient. And so those needs presented themselves, and we just encourage our life groups to serve. For example, my life group, my leader, Chris, he got our group together and talked to us, and we put together 250 food bags that went to the short west side. We're partnered up with a church in the inner city of Columbus called United Faith International
Mm.
Church. Reggie Hayes leads that church. And so Reggie needed some extra supplies and help. And so, man, we had people. It was so funny. One of the guys in our group is Matt Bowers, who owns the corner bakery there on
Oh
Polaris
yeah.
Parkway. So he allowed that to be the drop off point. So you're just used to everybody driving in, to the restaurant, and he's got that place barricaded up, so people can't come in and sit down. Obviously, they can walk in and get food and go through the drive-through. But people would drive by, drop their bags off. We practice social distancing, right, sir?
Yeah.
Together. But man, when I took those bags down to Reggie, I got to deliver them and just talk to him about what he's seeing in the city. And he's just so blessed, so humble, such a good leader in the city. He's
Mm.
been there for years. And he said to me, he said, Dean, I can guarantee you, I promise you, not one of these bags is going to go to waste.
Wow. Wow.
And I believe him. I believe him. He's been doing this for years. He's the real deal. And, one of the other things that was unique for us in the serving world, Kary's, our local school district for the Lewis Center campus reached out to us and asked if we would coordinate food that would go to families who receive free and reduced lunch, or families who, for whatever reason, may not have food.
Wow.
And man, we were thrilled to do that. And again, from an earthly perspective, I credit Christy. I mean, she's been developing a partnership with our local school district for a number of years, and there's a high level of trust there. And so we were glad to do that. And so people from all over our school district bought bags of food yesterday, and then today, people came and picked those up, folks who needed them. And so, man, just so fun to be a conduit of God's blessing. What an opportunity, man! We never had the opportunity. We saw people today. We helped people in the city that we never had the opportunity. This is an incredible opportunity for the church.
It is, and we're going to talk more about that tonight. I remember reading seeing on Facebook a few days ago, and someone said, "Here's a picture of us praying in a park, and strangers started stopping by, and we all were socially distanced." They took this picture of like people 6 and 7 feet, 8 feet away, but it was this park. Who does that? It's like I've been alive for 43 years now. September 11th was a uniting thing, but this is different because we don't know so much. We don't know if this thing's going to last hours, days, months. We don't, we've been restricted. It just doesn't it seem a little bit different than 9/11?
Yeah, I totally agree. So, the difference really with 9/11 in a lot of ways is that there was this mass sense of patriotism because there was a known enemy, a known evil.
There you go.
And, even though we couldn't travel to the Middle East, we knew that's where the so-called enemy was. And
sure.
we were gonna fight, and you can't see a virus. You don't know where it is, when it is.
And everyone's on edge. I just went, I'm in another state right now, but I just went to Kroger, and it's like someone coughed, and all of a sudden everyone's like, like it's just this, everyone's on edge. And because of that, gratitude, thankfulness, kindness, I think goes really far.
And the other thing that I see with 9/11 is that, albeit a brief time, the church is just filled with people.
Yeah.
For 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. Churches were full.
Yeah.
And we can't do that this time.
That's right.
But what we can do is go. Right? So let's go. Let's don't shrink back and just sit in our houses and just kind of hunker down and wait until this thing's over.
Yeah.
Man, there are people who are hurting, people who need us, and God has gifted us with technology and the means to reach out and talk to my 85-year-old dad. My 85-year-old dad got FaceTime yesterday.
Wow.
I put out on Twitter, I said, if he asks me for a TikTok account, this is the end of time.
There
It's
you
over. It's
go.
all over.
That is the
Mail
truth.
it in.
That is the truth. Hey, Rochelle from Scotland, who's come to the conference a bunch of times, I think. I know for sure last year. But she says, are your weekly congregation meetings online? Talk to us about, because I've heard things positive and negative. This not about LifePoint, but I'm saying about the church. I've heard people say, right, wrong, or indifferent, not our church, but churches have been behind with technology. They've been fighting technology, not all churches. But immediately it's like everyone suddenly said, we need to go with online services. I mean, talk about that. Like, wow.
Yeah, I have argued for years. Well, argued is probably too strong a word, but my
Advocated. Yes.
opinion has been for years that if the Apostle Paul had the technology that we have today, he would have taken over the world spiritually.
Wow.
Like, I think he would have used everything in his means at his disposal, because he did in his day. I mean, he used whatever he had, whatever was available to him. He didn't walk everywhere. He got on ships.
Say again?
I said he didn't walk everywhere. He got on ships.
There you go.
He sailed places. He used modern means of transportation. He used writing. Those were not, parchment was not readily available in his day. So, yeah, I have long said, and I think if you don't utilize the good of technology, and there's a downside, right? There's a dark side to it, and I get that. That you're missing out on people you can reach. We kind of stumbled into video late, and again, we've got a great leader, our creative arts pastor, Shane Tucker.
He is good.
His mantra is, if you can't do it well, don't do it. And so we didn't do video for a long, long time. We were late to the video game just because Shane wanted to make sure we did it well. And then when we finally got there, we utilized technology in some good ways. And so then right after that, we started live streaming a couple of years ago. And for us, really, what's really helped is that we already had that in place. Now we just adjusted and brought all 4 of our teaching pastors together for the past couple of weeks, which for the online services on Sundays, we're online 9:30 and 11. Everything's archived, so you can get anything from the archive. But man, our folks, LifePoint folks, at least the ones that are talking back to us, have really appreciated getting to hear from all 4 pastors, their perspective on the passages. They've really enjoyed. Matter of fact, we were talking to teaching pastors the other day. We were talking about it. I'm like, what? I don't know if they're going to enjoy listening to me for 30 minutes anymore.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
There you go.
So it's been fun. It's been very unique.
That's good. That's good. I love what Susan says. Susan says, so many who would never go to the church building, now the message comes to them. That's cool. That's
a great way to say. So we've had online, we've had more than twice our average Sunday attendance both weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That is so good. Well, let's talk about what people can do, because that is so powerful when you said, I hope that we don't waste this crisis or this coronavirus. That's powerful. I know that the people who are watching this tonight, and the VIP people, the general ticket people, I mean, we've had thousands of people sign up for this free conference. And I'll tell you what, I talked with other leaders, and I just want to give props to everybody who's watching this tonight, because certain leaders hid because they're waiting to get it perfect. In other words, this thing's happening so fast and there's so many updates. And if you are a perfectionist at this time, you're going to miss out. Because because you can't do it perfect. I mean, Dean, you would be, Shane would be frustrated because if he wants things to be really well done, I mean, I've literally, I'm at a beach house, the Wi-Fi shut down the other day. I'm holding my camera up to Dan and Joanne Miller so they can teach through my phone. Like he said, all we're missing is duct tape, Kary. But don't you think that churches in China and churches all over the place, I mean, they're not waiting for the perfect service, the perfect technology. I mean, they're just doing it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You know, when you have a unique opportunity and God presents himself uniquely, and I mean it, I firmly believe that God speaks through, prayer and his word, circumstances and other believers. And when God presents you a circumstance like this one, the old Puritans used to call this being shut up to faith. And really the church right now, I mean, we're shut up to faith. That's what we can't do what we normally rely on, which is probably teaching us a great lesson.
Yeah.
We're probably relying
on the Holy Spirit.
Thing.
Like now we're relying on the Holy Spirit. I mean, think about it. Most church services were down to the second, and they have this coming in and that coming in and this, and it's like now it's messy.
Yeah. Well, up until the 3rd century, really Christians, the predominant word they used for church was ecclesias, the word Jesus uses in Matthew 16, the word that means assembly. But in the 3rd century, whenever they said yes to really Christianity eventually becoming the state religion, they came up with a new name for church. It was the word Kirche, which means God's house. And the deal was, according to Chrysostom, a Greek historian, churches kind of used to meet in the open air assembly. And the pastor, whoever was teaching, he would start teaching. And if the people liked what he said, they cheered for him. And if they didn't like what he said, they booed him. They would heckle him.
Wow.
And so, pastors like me, we couldn't handle that. We can't handle heckling. So eventually they're like, we gotta get everybody inside a building and
almost hide out.
Yes. And make them sit down and be quiet.
Wow.
And so then, of course, when Christianity spread to Western Europe, I mean, it kind of became a competition to see who could build the best Kirche, which one was the prettiest and the biggest and and so in some ways we just can't rely on what we've relied on. So we're shut up to faith, man. We've got to do what the church is supposed to do. We've got to go reach people, minister to people, take this opportunity in the midst of and maybe we're not doing it perfectly, but man, I feel like I see the water level rising, not falling. Certainly we were shaken initially,
Sure.
The church broadly was, but man, I feel like I'm starting to see faith rise in some ways. And I feel like people are starting to say, you know what, even if it's not a new normal, even if it's a temporary normal, and this is divine disruption, and let's take this opportunity to become what we've always said we are.
Wow, folks, listen, you got to tag your pastor. If you have a pastor, you got to tag him here or a church, because listen, I love what Dean said. He started out by talking about another church. See, pastors, I used to be one. Pastors can be really competitive. Let's just be real, right? I mean, like churches can be competitive, pastors can be competitive. And I think what this is doing is it's kind of equalizing everyone, where everyone has new rules they got to play by. And there's this bonding that's happening. Bill Gates came up with an article the other day where he didn't call it divine disruption, but this article, I'm going to get it, man, because it was so good. What did I post it on? Oh, it was so good. It's like he said, we're now becoming more centralized in the home. All these things that we've been saying, oh, we never eat dinner anymore. I mean, think about that. 8 weeks ago, right? It was like, my daughter, we were just, out talking as a family today, and we said, we didn't do AAU this year like basketball, travel, like the next thing. But we said that all got canceled, and we're like, whoa, like a lot of kids sports are being canceled as
for
well.
sure.
So let's talk about your book. If you got your book, can you hold it up there? It's called your Next 30 Days. You have 2 of them.
Yep.
And your next 30 days is just the straight up faith one. And then you have your next 30 days of relationships.
Yep. I just so happen.
Yeah. I know. I asked you to. I absolutely asked you to, because I pass them out. A lot of churches pass them out because 30 days is doable. Let's talk about that. Why do you think 30 days, first of all, is something that anybody could do? We could literally get these books on March 27th. Amazon would order them, and we could spend April 1st to April 30th. It's Easter month. Who knows if we'll be together or not physically, but we could spend the next 30 days, and what could happen? Like, talk about what the books, each of them, talk about.
Yeah, I think, for us, the book was really an answer to a problem. We talk to people who are far from God every Sunday. And we do that for 2 reasons, Kary. Because number 1, we believe they're there. Number 2, even if they're not there, by us talking to people who are far from God every week, it reminds the body, hey, I should invite my friends.
Oh, that's
I should bring people. Well, what we found is that when people who are far from God start showing up, we didn't just want to give them one message on a Sunday. We wanted them to walk away with a next step.
Yeah.
So really your next 30 days is the next step for someone who is moving towards God, who has questions, who's a seeker, who wants to maybe a spark in their devotional life. That's really what the book is about. And, there's a bit of psychology there, because it's really based on the 26-day habit. Psychologists have said for years that if you can do anything for 26 days, you can do it over the long haul. So we thought, man, if we could capture people and point them to God's word and point them to prayer and point them to some very biblical next steps for their next 30 days. So every single Sunday, we give this book out for free. And we have people who take it every single week.
And listen, man, I got to tell you, I borrowed some language from your book. We called our entire conference last year, Your Next Best Step. Yeah. And so we added one little word to it, but it's so clear. Like every Sunday I look up and you have a big sign that says next steps. Nobody has to say, what's my next step?
Right.
Because it's so clear. And I love the book, because I used to feel guilty as a pastor, because you'd have someone making that decision to trust Christ, but you wouldn't know what to do next. You'd kind of be like, well, here's your long list of things that you should start doing or thinking about. And it's
in my religious tradition, it was fill out this card, right? You had to fill out a card, right? And then you turn your card in. And it's like, what do I do? I turn the card. Okay, is that what I guess that's it?
You get your card in, yeah. But now you're getting them rooted with community. You're getting them connecting with God through prayer. And the reason why, you might be saying, Kary, I thought this was a business conference. It is, but we're talking about faith because there is no distinction. In other words, I don't care if you have a business and you say, you know what, we get a new customer and we don't know what to tell our new customer. We tell them to get a card. No, you need a 30-step, you need a next 30 days for your clients. And we actually do that with our programs as well. But this is just good marketing. But there used to be such, this is funny. You might have read this website, Dean. There's a website out there it's called Church Marketing Sucks. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
You've heard of it?
Sure.
All right. But at least back in the day, a decade or two, probably about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was embarrassed that the church didn't know how to do good marketing, because it's like, come on, dudes, you're getting your butt kicked. But But now it almost seems like the coronavirus, your book, I mean, resources are coming that are basically just showing the church in a different light. How have you seen the church marketed? And some people might even be offended by that term, but I think, listen, God was the best marketer. He put a star above the stable. That's pretty good marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what do you think is the best marketing for churches, for businesses? I mean, what does it take? Is it back to the basics of biblical principles? What do you think?
Well, obviously I don't want to oversell the book, and then somebody gets it right and it doesn't deliver for them. But the 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 best marketing is a personal referral. That's been true
Oh,
in the
that's good.
business world, and it is certainly true in the spiritual world.
That's good.
The difficulty is when you make the personal referral and somebody says yes, right? Or
Yeah.
somebody says I'll come, or somebody says I'm interested.
Yeah.
Then what? And for years the church is, we've done all kinds of things and given all
Yeah.
kinds of programs and training and classes, and none
Sure.
of that is bad, right?
Yeah.
It's just you have to try and retain all that in the moment, and it can be difficult. And so for us in providing, we just want to provide a resource to
Yeah.
say, hey, if you've got somebody, there's a variety of topics. Every day has some sort of narrative in it that applies to scripture and applies to another step
Yeah.
someone can take as God speaks to them. And it's not formulaic. It's not linear where you have to do this, then this, then this, then this, right? Because that's not how discipleship works. God speaks to people differently, works in people's lives differently on different timelines. So really, we wanted to give people freedom to learn to walk with the Holy Spirit, learn to listen to his voice, dial into his word. And if they can do that for 30 days, they can do it for the rest of their lives.
Wow. Turn to your table of contents if you don't mind. And with the book, Your Next 30 Days, just read a couple chapter titles, if you don't mind. Can you do that?
Yep. So one of my favorite titles, or favorite chapters, I should say, is entitled "Yes, Lord." That's chapter 3.
Oh, I remember
think
that.
about day 2, man. The gospel in God's room. That's where my daughter, when she was 5 years old, she taught me a great lesson. Chapter 12 is called "One Whale of a Story." That's about whenever Angie and I, whenever we went to Hawaii and went whale watching, and captain of the ship allowed me to drive it, and Angie was dying. She was scared to death, and then she knew that I was going to play that for the rest of my life. Then he let me captain the ship.
I like that. That is so good. That is so good. Now take us to the other book, Your Next 30 Days of Relationships, because Dean, I don't know if you know this is true, but domestic abuse is going up. Now, I don't want to like create an urban legend or something crazy, but I know at least some of the people that I chat with who are hardwired into the police, they say that because people are quarantined and in such close proximity and stress and panic, there's some relationships that are actually experiencing more violence. So talk about your book, because we care about the kids, we care about the wives, we care about the men. We want people to experience peace. What is Your Next 30 Days of Relationships? What are some of the things it talks about?
Yeah, so really what we talked about in that book is, instead of me doing all of the writing, I actually did the editing, but we actually asked people in our church to tell their stories. And I mean, you're in the book, right? You certainly wrote a fantastic chapter in the book, but we just asked people to tell stories and be vulnerable and real and transparent. And so there are stories of families in there who experienced adultery, but who made it through. There are stories in there of people who faced unbelievable, one family and good friends of ours who lost their daughter 3 days before her senior year of high school started. She died in a car accident. And they have walked incredibly faithfully. Think about a friend of mine who did a chapter in the book who has Parkinson's disease. And, that's a slow, grinding disease over a lifetime. And he's faced it, and his family surrounded him with such incredible faith. I think about a chapter in there about a family who wrote how to disciple your children well. And it's messy, but man, there's some great practical wisdom and ideas in the relationships book.
That's awesome. Erica, if you can post the links on Amazon, that would be fantastic, because there's some people saying, what's the name of that book? Oscar asked that question, and Kary has your other book, but she wanted to know what here's what she said. Is that a new book? So your next 30 Days of Relationships, that is your newer one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's the newer of the two. Really, it's blue and orange, right? The relationships book, the newer book is blue. The original book is orange.
Yeah. And listen, let's talk just for a minute or two, and we're going to go live to the VIPs. And here's what I'd like to focus on with the VIPs. You're an Author Academy Elite author. You chose that form of publishing so that it would not be traditional publishing, even though you had interests, because you're a leader of a large organization and they assume, hey, we could probably publish this book and there'd sell a lot of copies. You chose Author Academy Elite, and just tell everyone kind of like how that fit your style, because I've been traditionally published. You don't always get to pick the cover. You don't always get to pick the name. You might not get to tell the story the way you want. Why was Author Academy Elite the right choice for your style of personality and vision?
Yeah, so part of it for me was my goal in writing the original book was not to sell a bunch of copies. My goal was to bless churches however it would be used. Now, certainly, I wanted to put it in as many people's hands or many churches' hands, either one, that could use it. And I felt like I could do that as well or better than a modern publishing company, because it gave me control to set the price point. It cut out the middleman. Everything I needed to write Author Academy Elite provided for me. So I think, you gave me some great wisdom whenever I was thinking about, do I go the publishing route, kind of modern publishing route, or, traditional publishing route,
or
go Author Academy Elite. And, that I feel like the advice you gave me was it kind of depends on you, your personality, and really what your goal is. And man, it just fit. It fit my goal, really. I'm from Southern Ohio, right on the border of West Virginia and Kentucky. I'm so proud that West Virginia was the last state to get the coronavirus. I feel like that shows some sort of strength. Like those are my people down there, right? I'm just a little bit independent, and I just wanted to be able to listen to what the Lord was telling me to do with the book, maybe instead of having to listen to a publisher's thing. No, you can't tell that story that way. Or
Sure. Fantastic. So it gives you the freedom to make the decisions that are necessary. It even puts you in control of the profit. And by that, I'm saying that some people might not know this, but you use your second book as a tool to, I just want to say, raise $50,000 to help the community, which is going to be a new campus that's already, like you said, Olentangy's already coming to you and asking for help, and other community leaders. So that's even cool, because if that was a traditional publisher, they would have taken 85% of that $50,000. Nikki asks a question: is there a third?
So, if you would have asked me that question a couple of months ago, I would have said, I think so. but I'm not sure. And the longer the last couple of months has worn on, I feel like I'm starting to get clarity about the third book. And so, yeah, I'm excited about the potential of writing again.
Wow. See, it's like having kids. You say you're never going to have another kid, and then you have the kid, and a few months later, years later. Yep. Yep. So Penelope asked a great question. Were her books published by author Ken Malik? They were. And listen, Penelope, I want to make sure. Yep, you're the one. Penelope, I don't know how to say your last name, my friend. Dean's probably better at pronunciation than me. Carl Lovato. Ooh, hey, that sounds right. She's our member of the night, most engaged member. So our team's going to reach out to you and get you an Amazon gift card. We've been giving away 2 of those every single day. And we're now going to take a timeout for about 5 minutes. We're going to jump over to the VIP group. And I'm sure our authors are dying to know how you sold $50,000 worth of books before the book even released. Those are called pre-sales. So we're going to take some moments because a lot of the VIPers are authors or they're aspiring authors. And Dean, it was amazing to chat with you today. I think I'm taking away, don't waste this crisis. That's what I'm taking away. And I'm also taking away the fact that if Paul were alive today, he'd be using technology. I mean, there's so many wisdom points that you made tonight that I think are good for everybody, but even leaders of organizations. And yeah, there are women who Sandra said, it's a dangerous time for battered women. So this is bringing challenges, it's bringing opportunities, and let's take advantage of those. Let's take advantage of those opportunities. So Dean, where can people find out about you? We popped up your website a second ago, but where can people find out about you?
Yeah, so lifepointohio.com is our church. If you want to know more about LifePoint, and deanfolks.com, you can certainly, anything you need, reach out to me there. I'll try and help in any way that I can. Thanks for having me on tonight. I really appreciate the time. Appreciate being part of the tribe. Everything that folks are doing to recognize, what God's doing around us. And man, let's serve our way through this.
That is awesome. Well said. If you are part of the VIP group, hop over there. If you are not part of the VIP group, we've had backstage time with Tom Ryan, Dan and Joanne Miller, Colin Moore, Kary Wilkerson, all the people that we've been interviewing. An upgrade is simple. It's easy. We'll put our backing on it that you're going to love it. We'll put a guarantee on it that you're going to love it or your money back. But that's a $97 upgrade. We have a workbook, a private Facebook group that goes with that. And if you just want a general admission ticket, you can get that free. We want to just help at a time like now, but we also want to, just reward some of those VIP people that want to grow. So Dean, thank you so much, my friend. And I'm looking forward to our little bonus session here in a moment.
All right. Thanks, Kary.